My name is Robert Khalifi. That's the way we say it in English. In America, it's Khalifi, but in Lebanon, where I come from, it's Khalifi. It has a sound of kha.
And where and when were you born?
So I was born in 1952. That makes me 64 years old. I come from Lebanon, which is in the Middle East. If you look on the map of the Middle East, if you look on the map of the Mediterranean, so you have Europe, you have Africa underneath it, and the Lebanon is right on the side, if you look on the geographical map.
And what were the names of your parents?
My father's name was George, and my mother's name was Minerva. My mother actually is American. She was born in the United States, but she went back to Lebanon to marry my father. But my grandparents are Lebanese who emigrated to the United States. So my mother was born in Brooklyn. She went to Brooklyn, New York, and she went to school in Brooklyn, New York, and she learned how to drive in the United States. And then when she was like in her mid-20s, she went back to Lebanon. She met my father. My father is Lebanese, and so my mother was an at-home mom, and my father owned his own business. He used to, he was in the newspaper business. He used to buy the paper and sell it to the newspapers. That's what my father did.
Where did you go to school?
So I went to a Catholic school in Lebanon. The country is divided between half the country is from the Muslim, they practice the Muslim religion, and half the country practices the Christian religion. I happen to be Christian, so my parents sent me to a Christian school, all the way from kindergarten all the way to the high school. You know, I graduated from that same school. My school was like half an hour away from home, so we took a bus. So in Lebanon, the school day is much longer than here. So I would leave like 7 o'clock in the morning to go to school, and would come back home like 5, 6 o'clock. But we had no homework at home. Although we had what they call study hall. So at the end of the classes, we would go to study hall, do a lot of homework, hand it in, and then we would go home, and then we had the evening to just play. It was kind of nice.
Yeah. What was it like living in Lebanon?
The coldest it gets in Lebanon would be like around 45 degrees, so it rarely snows. Maybe once every 5 years it snows, and then it melts right away. And in the summer it's hot. It's not a desert. Lebanon is very mountainous and very green, unlike the rest of the Middle East. In the summer, we used to go every day to the beach. Every single day. Every single day I remember going to the beach. It was only 15 minutes away. It was kind of nice. And that's what I miss the most. And the food. People now like hummus here. Well, hummus is from the Middle East, but now it's becoming popular here. There's another dish here called tabbouleh, which is also from the Middle East, that now is becoming popular here.
So I know that you immigrated from Lebanon to here. How
So,
old were you?
I was 23 when I left. So we had what they call a civil war. So the Christians were fighting the Muslims with arms in the same town, in the same city, right? So I lived through a civil war, which was kind of tough because I was going to college at the time. I lived in the Christian sector, but my college was in the Muslim sector, and I was too afraid to cross to the other side. So I couldn't go to school anymore. I worked at the same time. I couldn't go to work anymore. So I ended up spending like a year and a half during the war trying to avoid bombs. There were a lot of bombings back then, and you work very hard to try to just survive. So after a year and a half of that, I couldn't work, I couldn't go to school. I decided to emigrate to the United States. In a way, I was kind of like a refugee from the war. Now, the way I left, because of the war, I had to leave under darkness. So when I left, I took a boat from Lebanon to an island called Cyprus, and so we were afraid to be hit by a shell. So we left on a boat with all lights out. So it was very dark. Um, Me and a bunch of other people. So we got into the boats, all the lights out, and we sailed under darkness to Cyprus. When I got to Cyprus, I took a plane um, to Athens in Greece, and then from Greece I went to France. I spent 3 months in France because I speak French. Oh, the other thing I didn't tell you is that all my schooling is in French or Arabic. I did not speak English when I came here. So I spent 3 months in France. After 3 months in France, I came to the United States. I went to Brooklyn. When I got to Brooklyn, I didn't speak English. I took it as a second language in school, so I know few words, but I spoke French very, very well. I tried to look for a job. It was hard to get a job in the beginning, so I went back to school in the United States. So I restarted all my college studies in the United States, and I studied finance.
Where did you go to college?
I went to New York University in New York, and I got a job as a bookkeeper right away. And to learn English, I used to buy the newspaper every day and force myself to read the newspaper as a way to learn English. I also took classes in college as English as second language. So, but then what made my English really improve, after a year and a half in the United States, I met my future wife, who's American. And obviously I had to speak to her in English. Her family became my family. And and we lived in Brooklyn for about 10 years. We worked in New York City and we lived in Brooklyn for about 10 years. When my oldest daughter was 1 year old, so I had an older daughter, Danielle. When she was 1 year old, we decided to move to Albany because my wife's sister lived here. So we moved to Albany, we bought this house, and I found a job here. The reason we picked Slingerland is because the school district is good, the Bethlehem school district is good. So, we just rebuilt our life here. When my oldest daughter was about 16, we wanted a bigger family. And we didn't have a big family of our own. So we decided to adopt my son and my daughter, my younger daughter and my son. We adopted my Tess and Patrick from Russia. So we went to Russia and met them, and we fell in love with them right away. And so I got to go to Russia, and it was Russia was very interesting. It's a very rich country as well as poor at the same time. So we adopted Tess and Patrick, and they came here. And
So did you what's something that you remember from 76 from being here?
I remember the graffitis on the subways in New York. Okay, growing up, we used to watch a lot of American movies, and we thought there were cowboys everywhere. So when I first came to this country, I was looking for the cowboys. There were no cowboys. Then I was looking for the hippies, and there were no hippies. So I said, "What happened?" Because all the movies we saw were about cowboys.
Stereotypes.
Yes, stereotype. That's exactly right. The subways were completely covered with graffitis. I was very surprised by that. That's a memory I have. The school I went to, so I went to New York University. The New York University was very good to me because they gave me a scholarship to go to school. But they said to maintain the scholarship, I have to have a certain grade point average. It was a B plus, I remember. They said if you continue getting a B plus in school, we'll continue to give you a scholarship. So I worked very, very hard to continue my B plus, and I was able to get my B plus every single semester. But my first job was at the university. It gave me the first my job as a work-study program. It was about answering the phone and delivering mail between the campus buildings. Now, to answer the phone, I did not speak English at the time when I first came. So what I used to do, I sat at the desk, the phone would ring, I would say hello, and then hand the phone to my colleague next to me because I didn't know how to speak English. And I worked hard I had to, because I didn't have any income and I had to succeed. I graduated from New York University with a good grade point average. I got a good job and I was in New York City for in total of 10 years. I've been in this house for 30 years. And the reason I kept the house is because I'm a refugee from Lebanon and I don't like moving a lot. You know, for me it was traumatic to come over here, so I did not want to lose the house again.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying the house, and it all worked out. So my sister had left earlier before the war, and my brother had left before the war. My brother lives in Los Angeles now, and my sister lives in Paris, in France. So the Lebanese culture is very, very family oriented. Very family oriented. We love to gather around food. You know, typical food in Lebanon is like there's not a lot of meat, so we don't have steaks often, very rarely. You have a lot of dishes with rice and a little bit of meat. For breakfast, we had our own version of Greek yogurt, which is strained yogurt. I remember my grandmother used to make her own yogurt. Hummus is Middle Eastern, tabbouleh is Middle Eastern. But we ate chicken with rice and other dishes like that. Eastern drum. In America they call it dumbek.
That's cool.
It's the Arabic alphabet. So we write from right to left. The Arabic word is always written from right to left. This is alif, be, te, se, jim, he, waw, ye. Mia, I'm so glad you came over to ask me these questions. I feel like very proud of my heritage, of my story. I feel honored that you want to interview me.
Yeah.
And then
It's really interesting.
I hope you get 100.
I'm gonna keep that.